big good evening and welcome to the latest edition of Mancunia TV. We are live at the Mancunia Arts Centre in Manchester. I'm Dave Sweetmore, and once again we've got another packed out show with loads and loads of stuff coming up tonight. So we're going to walk up now up to the studio and I'll just tell you what's going on today. Before I tell you who our guests are today, we just want to say that tonight is in association with A1M Records. They do amazing things supporting new music, and they have a show on Indie Rocks Radio every Thursday night. Check it out at 8:30, and you can listen online everywhere in the world. So tonight on the show on Mancunia TV, we've got live music a little bit later on from the Battery Farm. Leon the Pig Farmer is going to be introducing Cookie Love. We're going to be talking to one of the best new photographers in Manchester at the moment, Hels Millington. We've got legendary author, journalist, musician, all-round Manchester music man, John Robb. We're going to be finding out about what he's been up to during lockdown and what comes next for him. And the man behind Mavita, Manchester vibes in the area, Alfonso Buller, is here. Before we introduce you though to our first band tonight, let's go and have a look and find out who is in Mancunia Arts Centre and welcome our studio audience. So that is our lovely lot who's going to be in the studio tonight. And if you want to be on the next show, we'll be telling you a little bit later on how you can get involved. But as well as that amazing lineup we've got on Mancunia TV tonight, Manchester's original down-to-earth rock and roll TV at its finest, it's time to welcome one of our favourite bands in the city. To open up Mancunia TV, this is Cold Water Swimmers.
This is for everyone striking today at the RMT. It's called Everything We've Ever Had, We've Had to Fight For. This is a message from the Ministry of Austerity. This is a message from the Ministry of Austerity. Don't get old. Don't get sick. Don't be black. And don't fight back. Don't don't you? What do you think you'll be in 5 years' time? What do you think you'll be in 5 years' time? Still sat in the same job, still sat on the same thank you. We're co-host swimmers. Try and catch us live in a full set. Thank you, Mancunia.
A1M Records new music show. The best in underground, indie, alternative, and eclectic mix of brand new music. Broadcast from Manchester, England on Indie Rock Radio.
So studio audience, let's hear it for the brilliant Cold Water Swimmers. So good. Definitely one of our favourite bands in Manchester. By the way, you will notice we've got a studio audience. We'll tell you a little bit later on how you can be in our studio audience if you want. And while we're filming as well, we actually have the one and only MC Tunes, real MC Tunes playing the tunes in between all the acts as well. So it's well worth coming down when we're doing the filming. On with tonight though, our next guest is without a doubt one of the most recognisable figures, faces and voices in Manchester. He's an author, he's a journalist, he's a musician, and he's also one of our favourite people on the Manchester music scene. Studio audience, we make some noise for our guest on Mancunia TV tonight, the one and only John Robb.
Good evening, everybody. I'm just thinking, this picture's quite weird, isn't it? It's like Tony if he was Antonia. It's like a transvestite version of Tony, isn't it? I mean, it's a great painting, but it's kind of odd, isn't it?
Is it something you'd have on your wall?
No.
Oh, right, fair enough then, fair enough.
Although it is a good painting, it's a piece of art, it's just odd, the twist in it. Yeah.
Anyway, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on Mancunia TV with us tonight.
I knew the artists would be in here. That's why I said it was a good painting.
What would you have said if you weren't here? Anyway, let's crack on. Right, so, John Robb, right, we've got 10 minutes, which is nowhere near enough to talk about your life, so we're going to fit as much in as we can in 10 minutes. Right, first memories of music.
First memories of music is probably Pinky and Perky, because I'm 61 now, so I'm a 60s child. I can remember the 1960s. So I remember Pinky and Perky doing the pop-its on television, speeded up little squeaky vocals. And proper music, probably I can remember the Stones doing Brown Sugar on Top of the Pops. So, but I was more of a glam rock kid. So when glam rock started, that was totally my thing. Yeah.
You were listening to stuff like the Stones and glam rock, and obviously you ended up going into punk with the Membranes. What turned you onto punk?
It was just the music. Everything about it was so amazing. You know, this is so Blackpool because I'm from Blackpool, so I'm a bit naff. I'm not a cool city kid at all.
We've adopted you.
Well, no, it's great now. I love Manchester. It's the best city in the world, you know, because it accepts everybody. That's what's great about Manchester. Tony, not Antonia, but Tony, he used to bump in the street the whole time. You have massive arguments about everything, but he always said Manchester's strength was a city of immigrants, and that's what's great about it, isn't it? Everybody's from somewhere else, but when you're here, we're all together as one. The melting pot, just talk about that guy there. So, yeah, what was the question? I've lost track. I've gone off for a mad tangent.
I was just saying about, you know, the punk thing. What turned you onto punk?
Oh, no, so punk. Because I was into glam rock, and then there was this weird bit for 2 years and nothing seemed to happen. And then I was reading the music papers, and then, because Blackpool's so naff, so the only place to hang out was the ice skating rink. So we used to go ice skating. And they would play punk records there in '76. So they played Anarchy in the UK, The Damned and the Ramones, because that's all the punk records in the whole world at that time, because nobody knew about the Saints then. And it was amazing. And there was a massive fight on the ice. We go, wow, what is this music? It's so fucking exciting. It was like mind-blowing. It wasn't like you could look it up, was it? You had no idea what it was. And then it started, I was reading the music papers even then, and so you're reading about this thing coming. In fact, I saw the band's pictures before I'd even heard them, and I knew what they sounded like, because they looked so linear and so exciting and so wild and crazy. You knew what the music was like, yeah.
Just listening to you now, you could hear your passion as a kid getting into music and the punk and all that kind of stuff. At that point in your life, you were forming bands, the Membranes come along. Which direction did you want your life to go at that point?
Oh, I never thought about that. At school, when they did that, you know, I don't know if they still do it, but they did that careers thing, you know, where they test people out for what career they want, and they said I was the most hopeless case they'd ever met, because I didn't really want to work for anybody else. I want to do my own thing. But now you can plot that out, but then there was no option to do your own thing, but you just did it anyway, didn't you? You know, so it wasn't like we made a band to have a career, which is probably a stupid move. And we just made a band, and we had no idea what to play. I remember the first gig we played, and we didn't even know how to tune up. We just put the machine heads in a row. We'd never been in an amp before. We just plugged in the amp. It was totally out of tune.
That's punk though, isn't it?
Well, it was in a way in its purest form. We were completely DIY. A bit like this thing here. It's DIY. I mean, it's much more professional than we were. But I think all the best culture, in fact, all the best stuff comes out of DIY. You know, instead of, you know, like when a town, like say like a town, I went to Stoke the other day to do a talk there, and they were waiting for the government to subsidise the town so they could get back on their feet again. God, the fucking government don't care about you. Do it DIY punk style. It's difficult, but don't sit around waiting. If you sit around waiting, then you die.
You know, you're talking about like life there in the late 70s, and the fact now you look at Mancunia TV, it is grassroots rock and roll television, and it's still important 40 years on.
Oh, completely. I mean, stuff like this is amazing, isn't it? And I think one of the great things about the internet, it's taken the control of culture back to the people who make the culture, isn't it? Or the people who love the culture, because you don't have to make any culture to facilitate the culture, do you? You know, you don't have to be a musician to create stuff like this. The creativity is actually creating a space or spaces like this, and you see them in quite a lot of different places now in the last 10, 15 years, but this is an amazing setup on here. Yeah.
It's great to have you. So you're a punk rocker, you formed a band, you got into the music, the Membranes come along, and everyone in the music scene knows you for that. But obviously everyone in the world of music knows you as a journalist and an author. When did you get into that side of the industry?
Well, punk rock was like, I remember it came in and we thought, wow, it's so exciting, this music. But then we thought, wait a minute, the message was you could actually do it. You could make your own stuff. And I remember somebody brought Spiral Scratch, Buzzcocks, you know, first EPs came out January 77, brought it to school and we go, wow, that looks homemade. You can actually make a record. So that's where we got that. Like every 16-year-old who's playing the guitar in the country thought that as well. Then somebody brought Sniffing Glue along, which is Mark Perry's punk fans, and we thought, look at that you can't. I've got a typewriter, but how do they make more than one of them? And somebody said it's a photocopy, and we go, what's one of those? And we learned basically like that. We didn't ever learn what to do. Like now you can go, and it's great now, you can go to college and learn how to do everything, but we never learned how to do anything. I mean, I still can't really play properly. I just played the things that sound right to me, and I still can't really write properly. I just write the words that come into my head, and I'm sure that's not how you're meant to do it. You know, so it's...
But it works in the music industry, in the music world, loves you for it. I think you've done about 20 books now, is that right?
It feels like it. I hate writing books.
I think you've done something like that. How did you end up getting into, you know, you've wrote books about, you know, Tim Burgess and Stone Roses and all this. How did you end up getting to meet all these people?
Well, we're all in the same rehearsal rooms. The Roses were rehearsing next door to us before they'd even done a gig.
Next to the Membranes?
Yeah. And we thought, God, they look pretty hard there. And they would kind of go in like that. And then one day I broke a guitar string and I had to go to ask them for a guitar string. So I knocked on the door, and they opened the door. We started chatting, and they were going, we thought you were all like mad psychopaths, you know. And we were the bigger band then. That's the weird thing. We were number 5 in the indie album charts, and they were like a local band, and they were looking at us like...
They were probably thinking the same about you.
Well, no, they thought we were like quite a big band, and we were looking, and we thought, well, they're obviously some kind of cool-looking local band that looked pretty hard, but they thought we were some big band who looked like nutters. And then we got on them really well, you know, and then I think that story changed a bit, didn't it? Because they ended up being super enormous, super important, and we just kind of plodded along somewhere on the bottom.
Look at the longevity of the bands, though. You know, you're still
out and
about.
I don't see the longevity of it as being a credit. Yeah. You know, it's wouldn't it be great if it was easier? You know, and of course it's never easy making music. And in fact, I think the best thing and the best bottom line of anything, if you've got a space to be creative, you know, and that's such a luxury, isn't it? Yeah, you could actually do. If we're starting the next record now and we can make it sound like any way we want, because if nobody else likes it, it doesn't really matter, because we haven't got a great career to throw away, you know.
You're underselling yourself there, John.
Well, it's kind of true, isn't it? And it's a luxury position, because with our kind of music, I suppose you would call it art rock or whatever, you just make stuff that appeals to you, you know.
So you have this amazing career, you know, with the band, you know, the writing, the journalism and stuff like that. One thing I wanted to touch upon that I like asking a lot of musicians about is March 2020 comes along, there's a pandemic nobody expected. Did your life change much at that point? Because you'd had a life in music and then it stopped. Did your life change much personally?
Yeah, it got really busy. That was the weird thing, you know. So because I wasn't on tour and spending all day booking vans and trying to round the band up and get them into the van, and it takes a lot of time being in a band, which is okay. It's still better than having a job you hate and that. But I had all day to do stuff, and I'm just kind of person as idea after idea. So I thought this idea of I looked at Boris Johnson, well, I thought, God, that guy is so out of his depth. You know, the best education you could possibly get, hasn't got a clue what he's doing. And then, you know, of course we all know this, but all the smart people are living a mile away from me on the council estate, but they don't get in. They don't get the chance to run it. So I thought, how can
That's a great way of looking at it.
How can we connect this all up? So I had this mad idea, and I'm really into a lot of green stuff. So at that point in time, about 2 weeks before, I'd gone to see this guy called Dale Vince, who runs Britain's biggest green energy company called Ecotricity. And Dale had been a traveller for 15 years, living on a bus, and now is worth £1 billion because he builds windmills. You know, by mistake, he's still a traveller at heart. So, and he was going to do that tour, Massive Attack, the Zero Carbon tour. So I went to interview him about that. And then I had all those other ideas and I thought, well, you know, me and Dale will talk about green populism because green stuff is Ponzi, it's chorn, isn't it? But how do you get it so everybody can be involved and everyone gets paid properly and gets something out of it, you know? So it's not just people who, you know, it's not nicey-niceys for everybody. But then I thought, why don't we get an education thing where we train everybody up in the jobs and get them paid properly to do them and also run the company? So we started doing that, and that took and we're almost nearly ready to make it start. So I went down that. Well, the weirdest thing was I started speaking to all these people who run really big companies, and they're all music heads. They go, oh, I remember you. I saw you play in Hull in 1984, and it's like some person runs a massive construction company now. So it's actually a lot easier to connect in the world outside music. So, but applying the principles of pop culture and punk rock DIY, basically.
So that sounds dead exciting. July 21 comes along, things sort of go back to normal and that kind of stuff. What happens next for the Membranes? What you got planned for the band?
Well, it's funny, actually, when it went back to normal, they put us on the naughty seat in about 6 weeks, didn't they? Put Manchester back into, like, the bottom tier again, didn't they? Because they're scared.
What the fuck were all that about?
Well, actually, funny, I saw Andy Burnham doing his speech. I was just cycling past, and I saw him get the message off his mate, off his PA, Kevin. I saw him like really going fucking mad, and he went on the telly, and he was a great speech and that as well. What's next? The Membranes, we're going to make an album. We're going to tour around Europe, the Stranglers in the autumn. And
wow, that'll be good.
Oh, they're amazing. Well, they're the greatest band, aren't they? You know, I love the Stranglers. You know, psychedelic, angry, psychotic punk. You know, how could it get any better than that? You know. And you still can't mess with JJ, even though he's 70. You won't want to get in a scrap with him.
You've had an amazing career. Is there any sign?
It's not a career. It's just a random load of coincidences.
You've weaved your way through life. Right?
Well, it's a blag and it's a hustle, isn't it? But I'm lucky. I'm a really lucky person. I've never had a job, and I just do what I like.
It is brilliant, and that brings me on to the question: are you ever going to write a book about John Robb?
People ask me, but you've got to have a proper story. I tell you,
you've got a mega story.
No, but I tell you should really write the book as Bruce Mitchell. You know, if anybody knows Bruce was in Manchester before. He was here in Manchester the night rock and roll arrived and there's a riot in the street. He watched it. He provided the PA and the lights for the Pistols gig. He did the Roses gig. I saw him 3 days ago, said, how you doing, Bruce? And he goes, I'm all right, kid. He still calls me kid because he's 82 now, Bruce. I go, what have you been up to? He goes, I've just been down at Blue Dot setting up the PAs. And he sets them up himself. And he's like, and he's dressed smart. And he's a beat. He's original beats. They used to go to the Clarendon pub, which is not there anymore, underneath the Mancunian Way, to the jazz nights, and they used to wear all the Ivy League stuff. And he told me about the trousers, the creases, the clothes, the socks. I go, fucking hell, Bruce! Every time I talk to you, there's a chapter of a book. Yeah, it's amazing.
You've just totally swerved the question, John. Right?
No, but I'm just going to tell you, he saw Jimi Hendrix's first gig in Blackpool, in Manchester. He told me about that the other night at the MDH Hall. I thought, wow, I didn't know Jimi Hendrix played the MDH. And he went to meet him in the car park afterwards, and he met Howling Wolf. And I was going, every story is total gold.
He's met everyone.
But I will get round to it.
Joking aside, I mean, you've done your fair bit of meeting people and all that kind of stuff. And I think that a John Robb book must be due.
But your own story always seems completely nothing, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you've got a lot of fans who, you know, for your journalism, the band and stuff like that, and, you know.
I will write it down sometime. There is bits. I mean, yeah.
That's on camera, innit? He's going to write his book down. Yeah, that's done that, innit? What about next? I do believe, if my notes are correct, you have got another book coming out next year. Is that right?
Well, I've got 4 on the go. There's a book about the history of goth culture. Right. So that's just waiting to get edited. It's nearly edited. There's a book of... oh, God, what's it called? Simon Taylor, you know, the photographer. He drives Barney around these days, and he drove the Fall around for 10 years and came out the other side relatively undamaged, which is quite amazing. And he's got a book of all his photographs. He's got great photographs of all the live gigs in Manchester from 87 to 92. So I'm writing the captions on them. You know what's really mad? And this just showed, this is an indictment of my life. I was at every single gig that he had a picture of. There's even a picture of my shoulder or the back of my head, and someone thought, oh my God, what a wasted youth that was, wasn't it? Well, I wasn't even young then. I was about 30 even then. So that's coming out, and I'm doing a book with McGee. So it's, you know, Sean Ryan did his book about how to be an indie rock star.
Yeah.
McGee's doing a book about how to run a record label, so I'm kind of writing it with Alan, which is a great story. I know McGee before creation, so I remember when he was like, this just mad Scottish kid who just wanted us to play, persuaded us to play in London because we're not going to play London at all. So I remember talking to him about, you should do a record label and all that kind of stuff. So we go back a long, long way. And McGee's amazing, Yeah.
It's brilliant to see how passionate you're still about all your forthcoming projects.
He's a multi-millionaire. He could go and sit in his house, and all that. He's earned that, every penny that he's earned, but he's more passionate about young bands, and how he can make them make it. Not even for business, just because he's got that compulsive drive to make things happen.
Talking about new music, the new music scene at the moment, in my opinion, is up there with the best it's been for a long, long, long time. Do you follow any of the new bands at the moment that are going on around Manchester? Is it something you keep an eye on?
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes, I've got that compulsive thing, you just want to be the first. So there's loads of great bands, but that band's super great, aren't they? Yeah, the thing is a name, because there's a couple of other bands called Soup, and they put an exclamation mark on it. But they're amazing, they're young as well, they're about 18, 19, so that's really good.
It's great to see you still keeping involved with the new bands and stuff as well.
I think most people do. You go to gigs, it's not just me, there's quite a lot of old duffers who still really engage in music, because I don't see it as young and old. I mean, when I was 16, I loved Howlin' Wolf, and he'd been dead for years, and I got really into jazz even then, not because it was clever, just because you thought, wow, Charlie Mingus is completely insane. It's tough music, I
think it's great though, because all the new bands and the up and coming, creative people in Manchester see that someone like yourself, who's been there, done it, been around, still supports that music. So I think that's brilliant that you do.
Well, I think it is important. I think musicians do support each other though, and that's another great thing about the city, because you go to other towns, cities, and you say, what's the scene like around here? And they go, we all hate each other. You go, well, it's never been. Of course, there's sometimes a little bit of tension, but generally, all the bands, we all know each other, it's a family, isn't it? So like when Paul Ryder died, which is really sad, it felt like somebody like your family had died. Even though you hadn't seen him for ages, it felt like a cousin, didn't it?
Yeah, he was a great man, yeah. 100%.
Oh, he's amazing, and what an amazing band, and they don't get enough of the credit, because they were game changers. And what an off-the-wall band that really was. I mean, I was saying to the other day, some mate of mine would talk about it, he said, he could never get his head around them, and said, listen to it as avant-garde music, because they're amazing pop bands, but they're also like Captain Beef on acid. They're just completely out there, aren't
Different,
they?
do their own thing, yeah.
Utterly original. I can't think of a band that sounded like them before. Those early gigs, even right to now, it's a very polished great hit set, but what a great hit set they got. But an amazing band. And Sean is an amazing lyricist, and he has no idea how good he is.
Yeah, we definitely, and we talk about poetry and stuff like that on here, and it's true, that's exactly what he is, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Completely. And Antonia, what did he used to call her? He used to compare.
I bet that picture's gone for the next show.
He used to compare him to like poets like Yeats or something, and Sean would go, pretend, because Sean's way smarter than he's letting on. He'd go, I don't even know what you're talking about and all that. But he's the equal of them. Why should something we have now or then not be equivalent to something from 200 years ago? I don't, why do people always say young bands now, you could never be as good as the Beatles were? Well, that's bullshit, because it's all, when they came out, people saying you're not as good as Elvis, and when he came out, he wasn't good as Frank Sinatra.
It's a great way of looking at it. And do you know what? The John Robb story, we can't have 10 minutes. We need a day to do it, and you need to get that book wrote, definitely.
Not another book.
But it is good. It's good to see you still doing stuff. All of John's information, of course, you can find out across all of the internet, and we look forward to seeing you on tour with the Stranglers as well. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us at Mancunia TV. John Robb. A massive thank you to the legendary John Robb for joining us on Mancunia TV tonight. You are watching the latest edition of Mancunia TV. We're live at the Mancunia Arts Centre in the centre of Manchester. And once again tonight, we are in association with A1M Records, who do a brilliant new music show every single Thursday at 8:30 on Indie Rocks Radio, where you can listen to it all over the world. So if you like new music, do check that out. And a massive thank you to A1M Records for supporting us tonight. Loads to get through tonight, so we're going to crack on with our resident poet and spoken word legend from this part of the world, Mancunia TV, Leon the Pig Farmer.
How we doing? You all right? I'll crack on. I've got Cookie Love on in a bit. They are brilliant. They're in a grindcore band, hardcore punk band. We'll follow on with a theme. Before that, I'm going to give you a couple of short pieces, which are in my new book, which is out now. It's launching next month. I only have 2. I'm not in the league of John Robb yet. I apologise for that. I'm still young in this game. I do have a psych punk band called The Dirt as well, so come and have a look at that and check it out. I've got books over there. They make fucking great fans if you want one in here, but they're not the cheapest fans. Are we ready? This one goes out to everyone that's striking at the moment because we need to take a stance against these fucking idiots that are in charge of this country. So let's have it. Antipathy towards the corrupt and gluttonous. Let me demonstrate disgust to the elite, incestuous, the anamorphic media and a biased culture. I'm going to chase fox hunters into the rat-infested squalor. The vain protagonist, divide of leadership. Shady deals are done in purple politics. The unpunished crimes and a domino distraction. This erudite aristocrat will now race the nation. So run the gauntlet down to ghetto heaven. Doubt breeds chaos and avoid the beheading. The power's paralysed in their smashed glass palace. Don't throw stones at proletariats who are fueled by malice. So evaluate your friendships born in darkened rooms. Let's flick the switch to illuminate truths. Facilitate, participate, no one showered in glory. Let me illustrate this point. They cannot rewrite stories. And they're crippled and deceived with a gentleman's agreement. Their confidence is lost within a business bereavement. An Olympian desire to run from their rupture. They can't heal these wounds with a gimmick pinstripe suture. Lost souls hold lanterns to their flies at night. Wandering in labyrinths with doors that slide. Shine over shadow and shape dictates power. The devil cannot dance with a tepid supper. The petrified jump chasms for their asylum plea. They're wandering labyrinths as wars that see. Shine over shadow and shape dictates power. I said the devil will never dance for a tepid supper. So evaluate your friendships born in darkened rooms. Let's flick the switch to illuminate truths. Facilitate, participate, none is showered in glory. I'll illustrate this point one more time. They cannot rewrite stories. Because we're crippled and deceived with a gentleman's agreement. Purple police for the gentleman's deceivement. The power's paralysed in the smashed glass palace. You cannot throw stones at this proletariat who is fueled by malice. So open eyes, worldly wise, the secret spies are telling lies. Web is woven, ocean frozen, cheapest doesn't have the bedside chosen. Wicked way, dog tooth decay. Walk away and avoid hearsay. Left not right and avoid snake's bite. The past was dark, our future's bright. 11th hour, no wallflower, no time to cower in the torture tower. Hidden blunders, nothing's conjured. Have you ever wondered? It could be time for thunder. And peaceful war scores on the door. The feelings raw with pilgrim's war. Setting sun, beating drum. Our time has come, they got nowhere to run. And the record's straight, unbitten bait. I'm never late, they won't have to wait. So get back in your pen, Boris, I'm on the mend. We will see you again, we just don't know when. I'm Leon the Pig Farmer, thank you very much. My next guest is Cookie Love. They are in a grindcore band, Gernal Gaddafi, and which is very hardcore punk. They are also their own individual spoken word artist. Let me introduce you now to South Manchester's Cookie Love. Thank you very much.
Yep, my name is Cookie Love, a.k.a. Pat Fussy, a.k.a. Erica, but don't even bother love. I'm going to tantalise you with some poetry today. This one's called Entitled. It's about us getting pushed through the same cogs and expected to turn out special, which doesn't really make much sense to me. Show me the rule book, the how to and the how not. No cheat sheet so you can backseat drive your way through this life. Your guess is honestly as good as mine. So we respond to intuition, get lost in inanition, expect the short and simple and end up with a mission, or on one, or feeling like we need those type of days back, but they're gone. Paving over pictures of paradise to fold out a flat pack future that you could get used to. Why? Because some vampiric satirical Tory told you the only way for you was a 2.4 life. Much joy and little strife. And the ones that bore you said you will be special and then grind you down in an heirloomed mortar and pestle, hoping one day that you will break the mold. Put a crack in that bowl and they'll line it with gold and rinse and repeat. What a feat. It can't all be original. We are matter, we are residual, we are everything and nothing, and that amounts to something. So why is it not okay to miss the mark that you made? We cannot be a master of a craft that you did not create. Yet, to approach this life from a studious state aggravates. To belittle the students and praise the sensei doesn't really make much sense, eh? Poignantly pointless, they say, listen more and say less. You know nothing. You're amazing. You're also 1 in a million. And I mean that. I won't be replacing or retracing this highly debasing phrasing. You are amazing. You're just not the only one. We've been reaching these higher states of consciousness to unravel what's been done before us. From the ascension of my ancestors, I transcend this spiraling thought. Begin to separate from what I should and what I ought to be or not to be. It's not even a question. I vow to be, consistently to revel in naivety. So I reject this scripted society, this one-size-fits-all money-making machine with all its brainwashing cycles has in fact washed mine clean. I am a living infusion, self-assured in my confusion. The knowing is all about the not knowing. Anyway, thank you. Next poem. I'm gonna do a bit of mansplaining to you. I'll talk about it anyways. Why is it always one of the plain mans? They lift the weights, they go for spray tans, the package holidays, they bring the Ray-Bans, that feel the need to mansplain and self-righteously explain, causing me to courageously refrain from kicking the fuck off. When I clearly understand it's just to take the upper hand, to make me have to listen to their voice, devoid of any other choice, without wanting or asking. But, darling, you must find this so tasking. Well, if I did, then I'd say so. I'd ask you or someone else, you know, don't presume because of this womb that I'm incapable. But, to be fair, man's plain. The most basic of bitches. And the girls that reject them are all just lesbians and witches. But seriously, if I could compare thee to a sandwich, I'd say 2-day-old ham butty, no butter, no sauce, just curling at the edges, much like myself when you talk. Thank you. Yeah, so you're right. I'm in a grindcore band called Gernal Gaddafi. I'm a vocalist there. It's a lot of screaming. It's a lot of songs about hating your mates whilst they're on drugs. And I'm come from the DIY punk scene in Manchester. I'm also a promoter. And this next poem is called Fever Coat. It's about my experience growing up Black British in Manchester and within the punk scene. So, I was scrolling through the old rectangle of doom and I stumbled across a meme. Well, a sort of infographic which was more than it seemed. It showed a picture of some kittens, mostly white with flecks of black. Caught my attention. I read the text because, you know, I love a cat. It said, "A fever coat occurs when the mother cat is sick during pregnancy. The kittens are then born with a greyish-white fur which eventually fades to black as they age." I blinked, I think. From white noise to blackout, my mind became an abyss. What is this? Why am I empathizing with this cat? I'm certainly not a speciesist. It's not about that. It was a different sensation, not my familiar void. Rather, a part of my psyche that I actively avoid. But I'd like to delve with minimal mudslinging and discuss my mother, my experience, and my upbringing. Her mother sailed to these lands to provide labour for a living. She did not complain. Ever growing, ever giving, 6 daughters sought after the treasures that were promised. Good education and jobs if you tone down and remain modest. They were young, but not too infantile to understand that they were gifted opportunities, taught to never bite the hand, and that they were black. And that's that. So this became their learnt behaviour. Comply to this country, and one day subservience would be their saviour. And one of those mothers bore me and a brother, and one of the lessons I learnt from my mother was good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good becomes better and your better becomes your best. But that bettering was a battering in here. Constantly conflicted, yet learning to adhere and understand the patois that was spoken, yet not to repeat it to my peers or I'd be seen as a token. To conform to societal expectations whilst partially cloaking my roots, these are very foundations, the roots I should be watering, but only where I reside, not outside. We never spoke of it, my guess a matter of pride. So, I found my solace in music. No parental limits were placed, it was mine, I got to choose it. Off beats, big bass, heavy riffs, untiss, and with this, I grew to become a mighty fine mosher. Hanging out with punks, doing drugs, getting drunk, much to the dismay of my mother. I wore new rocks, wide baggy jeans, and fishnets with everything. Drew on that drippy and dramatic eyeliner to represent the sadness within. And though I felt at home on my new metal throne, I was still a shock to that scene. I mean, have you ever had to justify to some dude why you're attending this gig, how you discovered this tune? Because you're the sore thumb, and they don't even see it as rude. So now you're construed as the black sheep. And that's deep, because that livestock label didn't just stop there. It welcomed me in at home pretty much everywhere. To my family, I was the bounty, the Malteser, the coconut gal, because I didn't please him. They grounded me for announcing myself as a Wiccan, but then for dinner we ate a Sunday roast with jerk chicken. So for many years of my life, I realized that I have been this kitten. Grayscale to a monochrome ombre, and thusly my focus has never been to fit in. And rightly so. The wider world is waking up, trading its tokens in, taking another look. Typecasts are out of paper and ink, and pigeonholes are full of stale labels that have been pushed to the brink. So my only wish is to break the systemic sickness that they have bore witness to and shed the coat I forged from what me and my mum have unfortunately had to live through. I understand the friction between me and my mother, all the stress and conflictions, and now I just embrace the amalgamation of culture. Mate, eat a full English with plantain, move with force, we are the unchained. My fever coat has faded. Only onyx overtone shall overthrow. From a kitten to a cat to a panther, always leave room to grow. Thank you. Yes. I've been Cookie Love. You can find me at Chronicles by Cookie, Gernal Gaddafi Official, and Cookies or GTFO. Thank you very much for having me. Bye.
Everyone, that is Cookie Love. Go check her out. That's brilliant. I'm the Pig Farmer out for this month. I'll come back next month with another stellar poet. Thank you very much. Now over to you, Dave. Thank you. Good night.
A massive thank you to Leon, the Pig Farmer. He'll be back with us on the next edition. And as he mentioned before, he has got a brand new book out called Don't Believe the Hype. And the photographer responsible for all the pictures for that is Hels Millington. And she's going to be joining us on this show tonight shortly. As well as that, we have got live music a little bit later on from the Battery Farm. But now, some guests who weren't advertised. A little bit of a treat for you on Mancunia TV. They are the people responsible for Mavita. M.V.I.T.A. Manchester vibes in the area. It's Alfonso Buller and M.V.I.T.A. How are you, lads?
Nice one, yeah.
Good
great.
to see you. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, we're good, thanks.
Special guests on the show. What do you think of Mancunia TV and all that then?
Well, first off, I'd like to thank Anton, Nicky, and yourself for,
thank you.
for
Hey, you're
inviting us to. It's a start of us telling the story and the history, untold history of M.V.I.T.A, which is Manchester Vibes in the Area, established in 1988.
Do you know what? We always think, like, when we turn up, we look cool lads. And now, like, looking at you lads, we just look like scallies from around here, don't we, really? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we're like dinosaurs now because where's John Robb? He's having a fag somewhere. Earlier on, he said something about the punk rock scenes because we go way back. And there used to be a gay transvestite geezer called Foo-Foos, and he did The Ranch, and we was part of all that. The punk rock scene I'm talking about now.
Do you know what? Do you know what, right? You've joined us tonight as special guest. We'll buzz in to have you here. M.V.I.T.A, Manchester Vibes in the Area, 1988. Alfonso, where did it come from?
Well, we are from an area of Moss Side, but me, Chonka Medlock, moved to West Didsbury. So there's a big pub in West Didsbury. You know it now as the Metropole. It used to be called the Midland. And we went from selling dope in our local pub to him that's been in the music scene for years, well before me. So we decided to put together a house scene that became house and garage years later with the rave scene in the Midland pub. And him is the percussionist, I'm the MC, and we have DJs. So it started in the Midland in West Disbury in 1988.
Where did he come up with M.V.I.T.A? Obviously, he could have come up with any saying. Why that particular one that still lasts to this very day?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people don't put the two together and haven't done for years. We came up with the name Manchester Vibes the Area because my brother Sess introduced me to the Stone Roses and the Happy Mondays. And then when I met Bez, it was like, fuck me, there's someone like a white version of me. I actually thought. So when I was at these parties and gigs, I'd be screaming Manchester Vibes in the Area. There used to be a shop in West Disbury called Logo Print. I took the Manchester Vibes in the Area and said to this geezer in his printers, I said, I want to do something with his name. And he just put the words together and he come up with M.V.I.T.A. And I thought, he said, what about that? I said, what's that? He said, that's Manchester Vibes in the Area. I went, that's perfect. So then we percussionist, MC, and the rest is history.
When he came up with that, when he came up with that, and did you expect that 30-odd, 40 years on, 35 years on, it'd still be...
36, sorry,
let's not mess about with the mathematics here. 30-odd years, right? Did you expect that 30-odd years on later, it'd still be such a significant and used saying in Manchester?
Did we what?
They're too busy thinking about mathematics here. Did you think that 30-odd years on later...
That would still be together?
It'd still be such a used saying in Greater Manchester?
Well, that's something that you can't predict. All I know is that when we got together and we had an energy together, we were together since we were 12 years of age in a nightclub in Manchester called the Reno. And then when we met, we used to have a bass player friend of ours who was playing with Sister Sledge and loads of world-famous people and stuff. And we had this energy and this...
vibes. So basically, when Bob Marley done Rastaman Vibration, it's kind of like stealing it. But I must say, Tony Wilson gave us one of our most famous gigs at Granada TV.
Yeah, Granada TV. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're in Granada TV, right? And we're sound checking and everything. And then Anthony, do you want the full story?
No, just break it down. So we basically, to see this geezer here, who gave us one of our first breaks, because we was actually, back in the day, roadieing for the Buzzcocks. And I'm talking about, this is when the racing come out, because as I was coming here, him had said, fucking, can you believe Nicky Lockett's been with us? As long as he's been a fucking, excuse my language, sorry. As long as he's been a DJ, Nicky Lockett, he said, come in here, can you believe Nicky Lockett's been performing with us as a DJ for 36 years?
Knowing him like I do, I can't believe he's still alive.
Not only...
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, there's not only that, Nicky Lockett's mum brought Nicky to my house when he was a young kid, and I taught him how to play some drums and stuff like that. And,
it's true.
Tunes, come here. Right, if you're watching at home, MC Tunes, Nicky Lockett is our studio DJ.
Yeah, Nicky's beautiful. Nicky's beautiful mother.
Yo, let me tell you the truth, right? So when I was about 7 years old...
I think this is one of the best pictures I've ever seen in my life.
So listen. So when I was about 7 years old, my mum said, do you want to learn to play the drums? So I said, yeah, fuck it, why not? Well, I did swear, but you get the drift. And so I already knew Fonzo from fucking just being around the family and shit. And Emmett came round and sold me mum this drum kit of yours, right? Yeah. Right, it was a big... Yeah. And my mum painted over it with a Bob Marley. Yeah. And he taught me how to play the drums when I was about 7. Yeah. And Fonzo went to school with me, mum.
And did he teach you how to rap?
No.
No.
That's his skill.
No.
Right.
That's my skill.
You know what? I love this vision what I've got in front of me here now. It's
Cough, Dave.
Beautiful, isn't it?
What was that?
Can I just sit and take it in?
No, seriously, family, love you. I shouldn't get involved in your interview.
No, I'd just like to say...
MC Tunes, everybody!
MC Tunes, yeah, man. Yay!
The roots run deep.
Yeah, it's deep. So I was just like kind of expressing a bit of the stories of how back and how far we really, really go back.
Right, so let's move forward. Let's move forward.
Swiftly.
M.V.I.T.A, 30 odd years on, right? M.V.I.T.A 2022. I do believe there is a bit of a project in the making. Am I right in thinking?
There is, yeah. We're not only telling our story, we're going to do...
We're doing a music film documentary and an album and a book. There's 3 things on the
And
agenda.
is that about the history of yous and growing up
Yes.
like the
No,
M.V.I.T.A thing?
it's not really this of us growing up. It's more or less about the rave scene. So a lot of people, New Order and Happy Mondays, came from Detroit and this, that and the other. A lot of people seem to think that New Order brought the house scene to Manchester. But like Emmett said earlier on, there was a famous club in Marseille called the Reno, and if you don't know anything about the Reno, you go to YouTube and you put into YouTube excavating the Reno, and people do interviews. So the Reno had a big influence on the soul and funk music of Manchester, and that's when house music was created.
This sounds like really exciting, and it sounds like a story that needs to be told. When can people expect this film and stuff to come out?
2023.
Next year?
Yeah, we're working on it now.
Brilliant. If people want more information about it, where they can find out more stuff about it, where do they go?
Nowhere at the minute, because we're not that, but it's all right, because we're going to do stuff here.
Grassroots at its very best.
Well, we do, that's right, and we're going to do stuff here with the management of you and Anton, and so we're not only giving you the opportunity to start telling our story. Once we've got the fingertips in London and Liverpool and where their house... What people don't seem to understand is house music was born in fucking Manchester. That's it. It's that simple. And we are the underground royalty, rave royalty of Manchester. And I must drop in there about Joe Strummer taking on a load of Mancs and being part of Strummerville at Glastonbury, because we was going there 10 years before we hooked up with Joe Strummer. So this geezer here is not only the first percussionist with a house outfit. They didn't know anything about an MC, and when he talked about a B4 and all that bullshit. It's right. We were the first. I went to a B4 and did a weekend festival with Nathan McGough, who was at that time Happy Monday's manager. So when he's come along as the percussionist, years later, Ian Brown has got what in his band? What has Ian Brown got and what's his name?
Goldfinger.
There you go.
Inder.
So we were a pretty big influence in this town. A lot of people copied of some of the things that we were coming off with.
Plagiarism.
Between you two and Tunes over there, you sound like proper originators.
That's what it's all about. This is why...
Original.
When we tell our story, big fella, when we tell our story, people will get up and take note, because we'll be saying things that's never been said before, and we're talking about the grassroots.
Right, do you know what? I hope I don't get a bollocking for suggesting this, but what I think we need when that film is ready is a special Mancunia TV. Can we do that, Georgina?
Of course we can. We want to do...
A special Mancunia TV. I think it's going to be a hit all over the world with you
definitely.
two, MC Tunes, telling the story. Keep in touch. Let us know when the film's out. Alfonso Buller and Him-It. Let's hear it.
Manchester Vibes in the area.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
A1M Records new music show. The best in underground, indie, alternative, and eclectic mix of brand new music. Broadcast from Manchester, England on Indie Rock Radio.
You are watching Mancunia TV, the latest edition. We are here live at Mancunia Arts Centre with an amazing studio audience, which you can be part of for our next edition. We'll tell you a little bit about that nearer the end. We've got live music still to come in a bit from the brilliant Battery Farm, one of our favourite bands here. But now it is time for a guest who, a couple of years ago, before we started Mancunia TV, we were doing this show under a totally different name from a different studio. And somebody sort of appeared on the scene that we didn't really know, didn't know anybody. In a couple of years, she's become one of our friends. A lot of people know her on the music scene. She's made an amazing career of what she's doing. And tonight, she's our guest on Mancunia TV. Let's hear it for Manchester photographer, Hels Millington. Oh, hi, Hels. Just going to move back a bit there. 2 years ago, you sort of burst onto the scene. You came to Mancunia TV or something else as it was known then. Did you expect it 2 years? Was it like, I'm going to be on this show in 2 years? He's a fucking brilliant presenter, him. I'm going to interview. Did you think that you'd end up sat here? Not at all. Can you just switch yourself on? Great with a camera, shit with a microphone. So, no, do you know what? Seriously, all joking aside, let's talk about you personally. You came to see us record this show and you sort of came onto the scene and you met us all and all that kind of stuff. And since then, you've done some amazing things with photography and stuff. When you first came onto this music scene in Manchester and you met us all, were you into photography then? Was that something that was an interest to you then?
Yeah, I've always been interested in it. From like the age of 19, I was an assistant wedding photographer, and I was going to go down that line, but to be honest, it's not as exciting as being in front of a band. And I got a bit of experience sort of doing bands. I came to MMTV, and Anton kindly allowed me to shoot some of the bands, and then nagged him for a while, and it kind of started from there, really. So
one thing when we're talking about Mancunia TV, we talk about like grassroots music and grassroots creativity and grassroots programs like this. Yeah. You're a great success story of why grassroots stuff in Manchester is so important. Yeah, it's just like I didn't know anyone really, sort of got quite nervous. Came along, everyone was so kind, friendly, and you become part of a team, and you also you're developing along with the bands who you're photographing, so it's it works really well. So we're going to talk about some of your favourite things you've done over the last couple of years, and the fact you're bringing a book out with Lee on the pig farm. We'll talk about that in a minute. But when you're not at gigs, you're not photographing bands and doing stuff like this. In real life, you're also quite creative. You're an art teacher. Yeah, I'm an art teacher at East Manchester Secondary School, so that keeps me quite busy. So it's trying to find a work-life balance, really. I mean, fortunately, we do get weekends, holidays off, but there have been times when I've probably taken on a bit too much and come home from school, had to have a nap and go straight back out again, sometimes 3 nights in a row, in order to get to bands, get to gigs. So I relocated to Manchester in November for that reason, because I was driving from Littleborough every day, and that's it's a bit of a trek, as you know. So it's made life a little bit easier, but yeah, it's been a lot of graft, really. Do you find that being an art teacher and doing gig photography, does it have any points that cross over, or is it two separate lives? It crosses over all the time. I think I've got a couple of colleagues in the creative faculty who also work in industry. It's like musicians, singers, and they bring that in with them. So I can tell pupils, give them sort of something that they can look at and say you can work in this industry. A lot of pupils will go, what's the point of art? A lot of the time, and it's getting that point across that there is careers to be made out of it. You're a big supporter of new music. You do loads of unsigned bands in this amazing music scene in Greater Manchester. And we'll talk about some of the bigger stuff you've done in a minute. But over the last year or so, you've also got involved with John Robb's Louder Than War. You're doing Right Good magazine. How have you got involved with, reviewing and doing photography for well-established and well-respected magazines like that? Practicing, learning, asking for advice. There's been some amazing photographers who've been incredibly supportive, like Nidge, Paul Husband, Neil Winwood, to name a few, who, if you need help, you just go and ask these people. You don't know sure what to expect, but they're just more than helpful to help you out, give you some advice on how to get into that scene. And then it's a case of taking that advice and actually working really, really, really hard and practicing and getting out there and doing horrendous shots that look awful for a while until you start to kind of get to grips with it and things start to make sense. So you're talking about it, it sounds like this music scene and this scene we're on is a massive part of your life, but you've become a massive part of our life as well, really, over the last couple of years, what we're doing, as well as doing some of the amazing bands and the new music we've got in Greater Manchester. You've done some pretty big artists as well, haven't you? Tell us who you've done. Show off a bit. So I think like the first big band I did with Cast, and I did Cast back last year. And then from there, it kind of just, it went up. So like Noel Gallagher was one of my heroes, and I photographed him a few weeks ago, which was quite surreal. I did The Strokes, the Fontaines DC, and yeah, it's great. I mean, it's not as glamorous as I thought it might be, because you get there and it's quite. What the fuck did you expect? I don't know. You make it look really glamorous. Do that, really? Absolutely. No one's ever said that before. So
it's like, you get the first 3 songs, you're herded in like cattle, and then like, you got three songs, and off you go, and it's like, you panic because you think, I've got to get, so Neil Winwood gave me some great advice, went, just shoot the shit out of it as much as you can, just keep shooting and just, go with it, and after that, you get an idea of the timings and stuff, but the first time you do it, I was just like, I got a meltdown when I got home, because,
The fact that, in such a short space of time, you've gone on to do some amazing acts like Fontaines, like Noel Gallagher, like Castor, all that kind of stuff. The fact that you've still very much kept your feet on the floor and you still support new music and new music in Manchester is one of the things that everyone loves about you. Why is it important that you don't just do one and do the bigger stuff and you keep doing the grassroots unsigned bands?
Well, it's like they're a lot of fun as well. I mean, and also you're seeing brand new bands that, don't know going to go in a few years' time, and the variety you get. So maybe go see one band, but sometimes the gigs I've been to, you get 5 bands for, in an evening, and it's quite short sets. But the Battery Farm, they're one of my favourite bands to shoot. Cold Water Swimmers as well. Those 2 I started shooting last year when I first came, on the scene and stuff. And it's exciting because bands that smaller venues as well. I much prefer smaller venues. It's less daunting.
That's brilliant, that. Yeah. So in 2 years, everyone on the Manchester's music scene. Everyone knows and loves you. You're an art teacher. You're a photographer. You do all the bands on the new music scene. You do a load of big bands. And if that ain't enough, you bring a book out with Leon the Pig Farmer. Tell us a little bit about this and how you've got involved with this book, by the way, Don't Believe the Hype, by Leon the Pig Farmer, under his name of Jack Horner. It is available now. How did you get involved with this book?
We met sort of on the scene, so he was like doing a gig, and we started chatting, and we met MTV 2 years ago, and I started like taking photographs of him, stalking him, around most venues, and then we started showing him some of my street photography, and he brought the first book out, which was a huge success, and he said, look, would you like to collaborate? I'd like to use your photographs. I said, absolutely. A great opportunity. The
pictures in this book that is available now, Jack Horner, aka Leon the Pig Farmer, and Hels. Why did you pick these particular pictures that are in this book?
Looking at Manchester as it currently is, and what I want people to do is read it and form their own opinion. But basically looking at the poverty and the wealth in Manchester, and how the gentrification of the various areas, and just there's a massive contrast, and that's the basics, but there's a lot more depth to it, when you have a read of it. But like I said, form your own opinion and see how you react to it. I think that's what we would want you to do.
It is available now, Jack Horner, and of course, Hels' new book, Don't Believe the Hype. It is available now. So we've spoke a lot about, the bands you photograph, the fact you still do the grassroots venues, you do some of the bigger bands. If anybody wants to look at any of your work and see it, is there anywhere they can, look at it?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Hels Millington Photography. I'm on Facebook, Hels Millington Photography. So both the same tag.
So as if you've not got enough going on now, you've got a book out, you're still doing the photographs. As this goes out now, it's the beginning of August. What happens next? What have you got lined up between now and the end of the year?
I've got a couple of book launches coming up. So Rose and Monkey on the 24th of August, so Wednesday night. So please come down to that and support us. Free night. No obligation to buy the book. We'd love you to, but obviously we're going to force you to.
No obligation to buy the book, but you're not getting out till you buy one.
Basically. There's going to be some good acts on that night as well. A couple of spoken word artists and a couple of acoustic acts as well. And I've got Why Not Festival on Friday.
So the 24th of August, Rose and Monkey in Manchester is the official book launch for that. Brilliant. Hels, thank you so much for joining us. And it is a great, we talk a lot about on Mancunia TV about grassroots and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that, it's such a brilliant community, the whole of the Manchester creative, scene is, and the fact that, Hels is a great story of how in a couple of years you've met us and here you are now one of Manchester's favourite photographers. So thank you so much for joining us. If you want to be in the studio audience, we'll tell you a little bit later on, but let's hear it. Hels Millington. So what a brilliant episode of Mancunia TV we've had. First of all, just want to say a massive thank you to the sponsors of tonight, who it wouldn't be possible without. A1M Records. They do a brand new music show on Indie Rocks Radio every single Thursday night at 8 o'clock. I'm going to tell you in a minute how you could be in the studio audience for the next one and meet this absolute legend. But first of all,
Hello.
You like that, yeah? First of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to all of our guests tonight. Hels Millington, John Robb, Coldwater Swimmers, Alfonso Buller, Leon the Pig Farmer, and Cookie Love. Our studio audience. And also a massive thank you to you for watching and supporting this real rock and roll, grassroots, the original online TV show, Mancunia TV. Now listen, we record this the last Wednesday of every single month. We want you to be in the studio audience. All you need to do is follow us on the social media accounts.
Yeah, well, this is where I'm supposed to tell everybody the social media accounts. I don't know any of them. I'll tell you what, the one I do know is at Mancunia Arts with an S. Centre. Thank you. Dave likes to get everything mixed up. It's called M.V.I.T.A, and his name's Fonzo, not Mavita and Alfonso. So we'll just get that sorted straight away. Anyway, I'm
And
not
do you
even
know what,
supposed
right?
to be here.
As well as having all of this, if you want to see this comedy show that goes on, MC Tunes, during all of the filming, MC Tunes is here doing a bit of that.
Tap
right?
dancing.
And you can see that. Follow us, as you said, Mancunia Arts Centre, Mancunia TV.
At Mancunia Arts Centre on Facebook. You can follow Mancunia TV on YouTube. And then there's Mancunia Presents also on Instagram.
Perhaps you could write a song about it.
No. But I will fucking tap dance.
MC Tunes, Dancing on Ice 2023. He's been MC Tunes. I've been Dave Sweetmore. Thank you for watching Mancunia TV. On behalf of Anton, Georgina, Kieran, Chuster Fox, and the team, you carry on. Off stage in a minute, we'll carry on with that, yeah? To finish the show, will you please welcome the Battery Farm!
Fight a human swarm, and all I know is it comes to norm. And the heat won't die down until the flies all die down, suffocating, concentrating me. Flies are body of the storm, the rancid accent they perform. Flies are fucked up fully, flies to ghost to gully. Flies covering high over the corpses of flies. I'm bumping into windows. We are the Battery Farm, and this is how it feels. Hit those fucking drums. It's hard to be a wooden spoon. You're either working or in tune. In kitchen drawers or on your back, freezing on a metal rack. It's hard to be a wooden spoon, 'cause if you snap it seals you doom. I don't know why you wouldn't snap. More bass please. Struggle till you break your back. It's hard, 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 it's hard. Just through the shit for years and years, observing with unwilling ears. The lives in risk without thanks, not like they haven't had the chance. The fact is they're ungrateful fucks who don't give you a second look. Just sure and scrub them back in tune. It's hard to be a wooden spoon. It's hard, it's hard, it's hard. Right. One day you'll make them pay their dues and cure all of your wooden blues. Yeah, they're stirring unbeknownst. You launch yourself into their throats, failing and gurgling until they go all purple, stiff and still. The rice will all be overdone. The sauce I like with burnt and gloam. You're reveling and telling. You'll see the eyes of those you kill. You laugh a little wooden laugh. They gag a meaty little gag. Failing and gurgling until they go all purple, stiff and still. The rice will all be overdone. The sauce will acrid burn to glow. You'll revel in their timely doom. It's good to be a wooden spoon. Well. Hey. Here's mine. The boy needs to use his brother's guitar, and it's gonna sound how it's gonna sound. Take it. Take the plug out. There's one song. Crude oil water. hotel plus a greedy squirrel signals for or impending doom. My eyes were lost, so summer free up on the velvet black lagoon. No joy, no kill, just compelled to stillness and to watch the fingers squirm. Quivering with fear of dying, player up to still, snuffing out of human life, a sheep and gun of hell. Nothing to distinguish from the hidden eating surreal. Quit the life of failure, moving into fail. We have been the Battery Farm. Thank you for watching Mancunia TV. Enjoy your evening. Death is inevitable. Live life beautiful. And that's the end of that. Unless. Nah, I'm being cheeky. Sorry. Yeah, no, that's 3 songs and out. See you later.